Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Streamrolled. Tonight, we will be venturing away from the tiny little pokey islands with no shops and nobody to talk to except the turtles and the rocks, while our group of companions plus their still mysteriously sleeping warlock venture back towards the city of Nota for the first time in this campaign. And when we get there, they intend to find a way to send a deep one back to his own realm through finding someone who is capable of casting the banishment spell. I'm going to shut up now and let my characters speak for themselves.
To clarify, is it the morning after the little party we had with the Tortles on the beach?
It is the morning after the night before.
Cool. Well, I feel surprisingly good considering how much of that weird seawater brew we all had last night. But go on, Ishmael, what do you reckon of this boat they're lending us? Seaworthy?
So, I mean, I'm not one for turtle ships, but it looks seaworthy to me.
All right then. Have you seen our new friend this morning?
I don't know. I mean, I had a fair bit to drink last night. Don't know where he wandered off to. I imagine he's still on shore.
I'm gonna have a quick scan around the beach, see if I can spot the somewhat distinctive cleric from another dimension.
He is stood remarkably still in pretty much the same position you left him last night. The sea has kind of come and buried his feet in the sand, and he's still stood with his hand behind his back. And the look on his face is, well, it's difficult to tell with the extra, appendages attached to his face, but the best one would be judgmental.
It's a good job I can't read his expression. There you are. Are you ready to go?
Sorry. Since you have finished your celebrations and imbibing whatever this thing that you seem to enjoy so much last night, yes, I am prepared to go. I took some time to speak with the Tortles last night. It appears one of them and their captain will be bringing us to Nota. We have a day, maybe two's travel to get there. I would be willing to answer any of your questions you have now. You can write them down, and when we get there, you can bring me to whoever it is you know can send me back to my plane.
It shouldn't be too much trouble. Nota's a well-travelled city. There should be some very learned men there who can help you.
Yes, let's hope that is true, for I have agreed not to be violent, and feeding time is soon, and that usually comes with violence.
Well, just, maybe have a nap in the back of the boat or something,
I think maybe I will use time for a trance.
Great. And, maybe by the time you come round, we'll be back in Nota. You might even like the place. It's much more bustling than the islands you've been used to, I'm sure.
That seems less than appealing, but yes, let's set off, shall we? Heave ho and tally on, as they say.
I mean, I'm no expert, Ishmael, but judging by the look on your face, that wasn't quite right. Never mind. All in the boat then.
It was good enough, but yeah, I agree. Let's burn the daylight while we have the most of it.
So you head down to the kind of makeshift pier that the Tortles have put together, and they all pile you into a small little rowboat and bring you out to the larger vessel that's in the bay. And as I was saying before, it's got the kind of turtle shell dome over the outside of it, made up of shells made of clams. Pile you in. It's surprisingly large on the inside, but then again, it's made for being crewed by 7 foot tall, 3.5 feet wide turtles with a big shell on their back, and it seems to just kind of 2 teams of 3 are manning large oars on either side, and in a human galley, you'd kind of have 2 or 3 people attached to these because the extra size on the turtles. They're able to get you out onto the open water without too much. And they kind of set off, and once they get out into the actual trade route, the sails unfurl above the ship, and it seems that the turtles who were rowing pull the rows in astern, and they kind of carry on about their own doings. There's only one of the turtles that are here that you would recognize. The others, you'd have seen them at your shindig the previous night, but you hadn't encountered them before you'd gone towards the dealings with the bullywogs.
Well, Tortles, it's been a pleasure, glad to free up your spawning grounds and such, and much obliged for the lift.
Oh, it's a fair trade. We'll get you back to the city before too long, I hope.
No offence to you, islands and such, but can't wait to have a proper bed and a good meal again. Not that your food wasn't delicious. I just, I've got to anchor in for some roast beef.
That's a fairly understandable exchange. Given you said you spent several days on a boat at sea, I imagine you're going to eat just about anything you can get your hands on at this stage.
Well, I mean, I'm a man of civility, but yes, pretty much.
In that case, is there any more questions you have before we get to the city?
How long did you say it would take?
Just over 2 days, but we do have the wind with us at the moment, so we might be able to make it there in 12 hours.
Well, it's good running. I mean, have you folks heard any news about the wider world?
Yes, there is news that we have heard on our journey here. They say in the far west of the northern shores that a new plague has come out and is striking down a great many people, mainly humans, with a disease that saps them of their strength and makes them wish to journey deep into the temperate rainforests of Cloudspire.
Well, that sounds quite unusual. I don't think I've ever heard of any disease that did anything quite like that. I mean, sure, sapping your strength, but wandering off into the jungles is a new one on me.
Yes, they say it can be cured by powerful clerics, but the price is rather high.
Well, I guess I better get practicing then.
Other than that, the Canant has a festival. The capital city of the Lord's Alliance has a festival in 40 days, 2 journeys. That's normally a bit of a shindig, you know. All the drinking provided by the town. Can't argue. I would say if I get to go there, I shall fill my shell.
Ah,
Oh,
quite a godly gesture, providing booze for the whole city. I mean, I feel like it may be a worthy stop on my pilgrimage.
I would be surprised if you did otherwise, dear fellow, seeing as how you somehow managed to have a drink even now.
Oh well, it's a gift from on high, actually. In fact, I've not had a drink this morning.
Well, you should feel free to drink away. The shell on our vessel makes us very protected, even from the fiercest of dragon attacks.
Well, let's hope it doesn't come to that.
We did encounter a dragon turtle readying to lay his eggs. Fascinating creature. The female comes up behind during the spawning season and will lay the eggs onto the back of the male, and the male will then carry them into the more dangerous reef to find a place to lay them.
Well, let's
Why?
avoid those reefs, shall we? You know,
Yeah.
leave those leave them to their business, I suppose.
Yes, we will not be going near those reefs on this journey. You may see a rock, though. There are a few in this area. Very impressive creatures.
We saw.
Recently.
We got uncomfortably close, shall we say?
Between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah.
I can understand the trepidation, though they are a mighty beautiful bird. You just don't want to be on their dinner menu.
Best viewed from afar, I think, through a spyglass.
Ah, yes. If one can afford such luxuries.
Do have wonderful plumage. I'll pull out the rock feathers that we collected a couple.
Oh, a wonderful gift. May I buy that from you? I would wish to give it to my broodmate.
Think with hospitality, it's consider it a gift, and you've done more than enough for us. I have no use for the feather. It's yours by all means.
Are you sure you do not wish to line your pockets a little bit before you head into the city? It would be a fair exchange of 25 gold pieces for the feather, and we will call it my reward and my thanks for restoring our hot springs.
I'll hold out the feather, and I'll just keep my hand outstretched and look away, and if gold happens to grace it, I won't turn it.
Okay. You do feel a small little bag land in your hand, and the feather gets taken away. Is there anything else that you would like to ask me?
Well, I mean, suppose anything else we need to know, we'll probably find out when we arrive in Nota. But I mean, is there anything else you'd like to share with us? Got a long voyage, I suppose.
If traveling a very long way, next time buy pocket soup.
That is actually fairly sound advice.
It begins.
And maybe a bigger boat.
You know, I have a
Well,
question.
I mean,
are-
this
are we-
wasn't our vessel of choice. You know, we were kidnapped and then wrecked in a storm.
So, other than the pocket soup and maybe the bigger boat, um, I don't know really. What are your plans? Where are you going to head to now?
You know,
Well,
if I may, I have a question. You seem to know a lot about dragons in specific. Are there a lot of dragons from where you come from? Or like, are there a lot of dragons around in general?
There is a dragon on our island. She is the blue dragon suzerain.
I think you mentioned that.
Queen, you would say. She is the strongest of the blue dragons and has claimed the fortress on the Stern Cays Island for herself. Our people live in her shadow. It is protected, but difficult.
Okay, because I think you mentioned that at some point before, but I couldn't quite. You know, you seem to be very knowledgeable about them, though.
When you live beneath the talons and wings of a dragon, you tend to talk a lot about dragons.
Yeah, I suppose that makes sense.
Dragon, recent companion of the island, or has
At
it been there for as long
least
as you have?
At least for 200 generations. In your time, about 800 years.
Was the dragon at the Stern Cave before your people? The other way around?
Legend says the Tortles were first, but if you ask the blue dragons, they say they were first, and they granted our ancestors rights to live on the island in exchange for a 50% portion of our fishing rights.
Been much for land or a sea lord, I guess.
That sounds like a lot, but when you think no army has invaded our island because it is protected by a dragon known to be wicked and cruel, it feels a small price to pay to not know war.
Stern K threatened, though. Were you not to have the dragon in residence? Would you be fearful of other invaders?
We are between the two shores of Tarbotane and the pocket kingdom of Chult that is to the east. And we are one tiny island of maybe 1,200 people. We do not have an army to defend ourselves. We would be simple pickings.
And I hope that war never comes to your island. If you ever do feel
We pay
threatened,
our dues.
Hopefully
D-
the rate doesn't increase too much.
Oh, hopefully. The blue dragons are evil, but unlike many of the other metallics, they are honorable to their word and can be reasoned with. Their malevolence comes more from cruelty than I search for a word. Malice.
Well, it still doesn't sound like an arrangement I'd be particularly keen on, but to each their own.
I suppose if they're being protected,
You speak like a man who comes from a race with many millions dotted through many hundreds of strongholds. There are less than 2,000 of us, and we live in one place. We will pay whatever devil needs their due to protect it.
Well, there's a saying where I come from, which is it's a little harsh, but it's an old saying, which is that he who would give up freedom to attain a little security deserves neither.
It is not freedom we give up. We are free to do as we want. It is labor that we pay our price with. The same way many commoners pay taxes to a lord. It just so happens our lord has scales and teeth and will breathe lightning on you.
Well, I've heard some mean talk about the Lord of the Brewistery, but can't say I've ever seen the scales myself. So,
Well, I for one wish you the best on your future
I will not.
endeavors.
Yes,
on your
I
island.
will not pretend it is an ideal situation, but we do not get to live in an ideal world. Maybe
well,
one day my people will walk through your cities, but for now, many of yours see us as little more than monsters. And given our appearance, that is regrettably understandable.
well, I wouldn't say monstrous. Imposing, maybe. Striking, but not monstrous.
But yes, you stand me next to a halfling or a gnome. The,
Ah,
the little
but you
creature's
stand me
fear is
next to a
understandable.
gnome, and I look monstrous. They're just tiny.
Said you.
Yes, they do say 3.5 gnomes would come to my shoulder.
I think 3.5 gnomes would barely fill you up for lunch.
I eat mostly vegetarian.
I've heard a lot of
Occasionally
gnomes are
fish.
vegetarians.
I don't think eating a vegetarian counts as eating vegetarian.
I mean, you are what you eat.
It
so
might
vegetarians
count as
only eat-
organic.
Or grass fed.
Our lady was going to say something. You got cut off by my comment. I am sorry. What was your point?
Oh no, no worries. Oh no, I was just going to bring up that I heard someone once say you are what you eat. So if you only eat vegetables and then you eat a person eating vegetables, wouldn't it still just be vegetables?
I think if you are what you eat and you eat a person, you are a person.
Well, that
So I'm
sounds
not a
fine
person
then,
now?
doesn't it? Does that mean I'm not a person unless I eat Rashida?
What? Why me?
Mm,
You're closest. And no offense, Ishmael, but you look tastier.
I don't know whether or not I should be
offense to that.
fearful or flattered. I think neither.
It does look like you have the most meat on you. Ishmael is a very nice man, but were we to cook him, he may make nothing more than a good soup.
Yeah, I'm mostly sinew, so
But regardless, you have tasted our cuisine. We may jest, but cannibalism is not something that we indulge in, despite the rumors. Some of these rumors serve us best to exaggerate. You will find your names have traveled among our people, provided you bring a tribute to the suzerain. You will be permitted to travel to the lands of the Stern K should you wish.
Well, maybe our travels will take us in that direction. Who knows?
If you head west far enough on the water, it's hard to miss it. It's the largest island on the far end of the lake, and rather impressive, if I must say so myself.
find yourself in need. You know our names, places. I imagine if you can send a message out to the Tortles on Stern K, you can send one in our direction as well.
Our druids can do this for us. We will remember you, Ishmael, Rashida, and Bauram.
Same goes if you happen to find yourself on the mainland during that festival. Good fun.
Perhaps your journey back is fairly fortuitous. We are going to return home and meet the flock as they come this way. We may end up in Canant around the same time. But now I have tallied talking with you long enough. It has been a great pleasure, but I must go up and take control of the wheel. It is my shift after all, and I am learning to be a ship captain.
Well,
Be
good
one
luck.
day my own vessel.
So we're still riding that wave of beginner's luck, eh?
It stands up and kind of toddles up, opening the hatch, letting a lot of more sunlight in than was coming previously. It wasn't dark, but it was kind of dim beneath the deck that you were on. A small amount of light coming through the portals, but as that swings up, bright light comes down. You can see it's a kind of clear but blustery day, with the clouds moving quickly into the direction that you intend to be traveling. So north from where you are now.
Oh, look, fellows, the very gods themselves blow us on our journey. Finally, a good omen.
Okay. Anyone else you want to speak to, or are we just going to jump straight to Nota?
I mean, we could have a fishing competition on the way.
For the love of God.
I might speak to the deep one, whose name escapes me. Kloseka.
Yes,
Just
that's correct.
yes, phonetics. About the creation of the freshwater sea.
Hello, Ishmael.
Hi, Seka. We seem to have some time kill, to put it bluntly. I'm just, I mean, I understand you've been here a long time, and I'm just wondering what you could tell me about the creation of the sea.
I did say I would answer your questions, so I will tell you what I know. Here, I am called a deep one, for we are able to live far below the surface of the water where the light does not penetrate anymore. This down there is a rift that goes through to the plane of water. Before I was pulled here, for many years, I was training to become a priest. I did not complete my training before I was pulled through, and then trapped here outside of my own realm. I am not touched by time, nor my own magic. So I do not age, and I cannot get home. But to answer your question, either the gnomes or the orcs, when they were warring, chose to open a plane to water to drown their enemies in time of battle in the valley that this stormwater now sits. But we do not know who. And I think, though I have no proof of this, for my ability to touch the arcane on this plane has been stripped, that when they opened the portal, they did so at the meeting point between two ley lines, which forced the portal to remain open for many thousands of days, flooding so much water through from my plane to yours that it created this great lake and pulled many creatures through from the other side, and many from your side who went through to my plane, though I doubt how many of them were able to survive as long as I have, given that they can't breed beneath the infinite ocean.
Never heard of ley line.
It is just a theory. In my realm, the ley lines web out much like a fishing net, spreading and coursing through everything. They are the source of magic. And at points where they intersect, magical effects can become more potent. The gods' blessings are more tangible, and the weave of the arcane can be manipulated with greater ease. Maybe they exist in your reality, maybe they do not. If they do, they are dangerous and powerful.
Watch out for, I suppose. Better to know thy enemy.
I could, before I leave to go to my realm, grant you an ability to see them if you are interested. However, if you do not intend to dabble in the arcane, then perhaps it is best knowledge left unlearnt, for it can be unsettling to many.
Consider it's not. I'll bring it up to my companions, see if they may. I would at least like to not be stumbling blind. No offense, end up like you, perhaps where I belong.
I would not wish my penance on my greatest enemy, so I take no offense.
I'll go speak with Bauram and Rashida, and I'll leave you to your trance. If, that's
I thank you.
I'll head away. Let him think.
He nods
Well-
and sits back down in the position he was before.
Do you enjoy your little chat with the deep one then?
Yeah, it was quite enlightening. A little about see how the lake happened to be here. Apparently, it's flooded valley. I've heard the odd rumor, but never really believed it myself. Kind of makes you wonder. Treasures. What things lost? He did say something interesting.
You alright,
Hello
Bauram?
there,
You seem to
sorry.
blank out for a moment.
Sorry, I was just I think my hangover was catching up with me for a second there.
Yeah, I don't understand how you do it, Bauram. I mean, I like a drink as much as the next man, but I would kill a cup of coffee.
Well,
I've never
that's
had
not
coffee.
that's not an option, unfortunately. So I think I'm just gonna have another beer.
I mean, you brew coffee, you brew beer. I'm sure there's some way we merge the two, but you know that's your bag.
Maybe I can appeal to the god of coffee. But I'm not 100% sure of their identity.
I'm
I must
sorry, Ishmael, but
admit.
what is coffee?
It's a bean.
Um,
It's bean juice. Makes
I
you go
ha-
fast. Wakes you up.
I have even more questions than I did before, but I'm not sure if I dare to have them answered.
It's a bean that grows in more temperate climes than these. Pluck them, dry them, roast them, and then you filter hot water.
Yeah,
And you-
people make it into a strange kind of bitter soup.
Yeah,
I never really saw the appeal in it myself, when you could just drink beer.
no, because what beer kind of makes you a little bit sleepy and a little bit loose. Coffee kind of wakes you up and gets you focused.
But it,
I mean,
but
it's
it
something.
makes you need the privy a little more than usual, though.
Well, I mean, when you're working on a ship, the is in any direction you head.
You're not
Well, I
Bunch, aren't
suppose.
you?
Anyway, the deep one down there kind of mentioned something interesting. He reckons that this lake may intersect called ley line. I don't know if either of you have kind of
Ley
arcane
lines.
nonsense.
I've heard some tell of them. I mean, it's not my area of expertise at all, but I've certainly heard the term before. I've heard some of the more magical types waffle on about it. Some it's never really been particularly relevant to me myself, so I didn't pay much attention. There's an awful lot to learn about the finer arts of brewing. You know, if I fill up my head with all that knowledge, I wouldn't have room for all the good, useful knowledge about hops and such.
I mean, I don't really touch the arcane. More of a man of the land.
Honestly,
Now,
not
if
touching
anything,
it's probably a good standpoint.
Yeah, I could see if it was able to assist me, sailing, but it seems to be a bit more nuanced than that.
Mm. No, from what I know, it's only really it just affects the way wizards and such do their spells and the like. I
It's,
mean, I think for now it's probably a needless distraction.
but it's interesting bit of information. If he's
But the knowledge is hardly secret. I think if we were desperate to seek it out, sure, we could find it in another location, if it becomes something we decide we need to know.
When? If
Pardon? Sorry.
I just said if and when a couple times.
Ah, yeah. I mean, you know, I've gone my whole life so far without knowing about ley lines and never really felt the lack of it, you know?
Yeah, so have I.
What about you, Rashida? You're desperate to know about this mystical doohickery?
You know, I think I usually think that it's good to learn whatever you can, but I can't really weigh anything in on this, considering that I have no idea what magic is about, really.
Seems like a load of book learning for no good reason to me. Well, I'm going to bed down for a bit, because my bones are weary, and, you know, so I'm going to go to sleep.
While we got smooth sailing as well. But I will, once I kind of settle down, I'm going to take out the weird orb that everybody's so concerned of and just sort of hold it and roll it around in my hands and look at it just kind of absent-mindedly.
Make a constitution check for me, please.
Oh, crap.
Begins.
I was not expecting that. Con?
Con,
Yeah.
please. And check, not save.
Yeah, 8.
Okay. It's fine. Rashida, your companions have gone down and bedded down for the night. Do you have anything that you wish to do this evening?
No. She probably also head to bed. Well, it's possible. Unless someone needs to stand watch.
Okay. No, you're on a vessel with lots of, it's crewed. You're being treated as passengers, so you wouldn't have to stand watch unless you want to. Like, they would be happy enough to let you join them, but you would not be required.
Actually, no, I think she'd join them for a little bit at least.
Okay. So, you make your way out up onto the upper deck, and it is an unusual experience for an upper deck, for you can't see out of most of the vessel, because barring the slits that are in the side for the shells, you can't see out into the sea itself. However, from the top, which is still fairly open, it looks like the shields have been swung open to allow the air to come through, and they're on large hinges. As you watch the sun slowly set and the two moons slowly rise together, first the red, larger of the two, and then second, that small little delicate green and blue ball slowly passing overhead as the night goes on. Nothing dangerous occurs as the evening goes by, but you do happen to see maybe a dozen or so water weirds kind of gleefully playing together in the surf that's being kicked up by the bow of the boat.
Nice.
Beyond that, your night goes fairly unremarkable. Very similar spicy stew was served to the one that you had the previous night, but with that, I think that brings our first episode for the evening to a close. We'll be taking maybe a 15-minute break for those of you who are joining us over on Twitch. And when we come back, our traveling companions will have made their way to the city of Nota's port. Thank you very much. Have a good evening. If you're watching on YouTube, like, comment, and subscribe. And this time, Kay won't burst into giggles when I have to say it. And have a very nice day. Goodbye to you all. Welcome back. For those of you on Twitch, this is the second half of this evening's shows. For those of you on YouTube, this will be a brand new episode. Today, our group of intrepid travelers have decided that they're going to arrive at Nota. Well, they haven't so much decided as they've been brought there by a bunch of turtles on a rather large, unusual looking ship. And they have somebody to get rid of. Mostly that being the rather large, rather scary creature from another dimension. But how they're going to do that is entirely up to them and possibly the decision of my cat, but we'll see just what happens.
A grand city from the sea, I must say.
What is skyline?
So it takes maybe another 5 hours for you to get all the way in, and you have to wait for your docking papers and everything else. But it goes smoothly enough. And on the far eastern side of the city, you're dumped into one of the docks. Around about here. There's a couple of places that you can go to.
I don't want to alarm anyone, but the mysterious voice that keeps telling me where to go has stopped speaking.
What, are you telling me that you also had that voice? I thought I was alone about that.
No, it's the voice of the gods, I think. Well,
Is
that's
the
what I
voice
tell
of the
myself.
gods telling you to calm down with your drinking, or is it just, a voice telling you random stuff?
Quite the opposite, actually.
It tells you to drink more.
Ah. What else would you expect Anseath to tell?
I mean, I suppose that makes sense, although... You know what, I won't intervene, but, be careful.
Believe me, I trained for many years. I'm not some amateur that you'd find in your local tavern.
No, I think that's been proven already.
Quite. Speaking of which, how about we go and find said local tavern and get a room? Not in the improper sense.
As much as that seems quite tempting, we do have a passenger that's with us.
Oh, yes, of course. Yeah, no, I suppose we should probably head to the temple. I reckon they're our best bet.
Yeah, I mean, he seems to be rather fine right now. He doesn't seem to care too much about us.
Plus, it's only polite that I go and make my introductions as a cleric of what is technically a foreign deity.
Yes, I suppose.
It's just polite.
Are there many brewisteries, or is it just the one?
Well, there is only one brewistery, the brewistery, but there are many smaller, what we like to call brew chapels, that are set up as sort of foreign missions where we spread the good word and produce fine local brews. Obviously, nothing to stand up to the godlike concoctions of the brewistery itself, but a fine distraction for a developed palate.
You know, I have a question. Aside from the brews that you get from your god himself, are there any brews that you've had that were, you know, like, what was the best one you've had that wasn't from your god?
Well, I mean, there are some real unusual ones. And obviously I could point to one of them, but honestly, my favourite is just the fine golden ale of my homeland. I mean, they do brew it up with subterranean ghost wheat, but, you know, it's not inherently magical. It just glows a little. Makes it
The
harder
wheat or
to
the
lose
ale?
your drink. Well, both.
Okay.
But it's got a real pleasant, citrusy, bitey taste. And it's strong as an ox. It'll kick your head off just as easy.
I mean, I like a good brew from straight off the tap, the local tap. Generally, whatever they have house made, that's pretty good. But I don't think I could give you a name for any of them.
Well, there's something to be said for an accepting palate, you know. Needs must, after all. We can't all be, you know, blessed by being able to sample the fineries of the brewistery itself. But one day, you know, we may journey in that direction, and I can show you in to the inner sanctum.
Oh, can anybody enter? I imagine.
Well, no, not just anybody, but
men of the
you
cloth
know,
to partake of those things. But
with you know, with my blessing, you would be able to come in. I can vouch for you.
I quite like that.
Oh well, we've not known each other long, but I feel it's been time well spent, and you both seem like stand-up people who wouldn't do anything to jeopardize the sanctity of the brewistery.
Never.
I mean, honestly, I don't think you've got it in you.
Well, I think under the circumstances of our meeting, on our way to be fast friends.
Yeah. There's nothing like being kidnapped and shipwrecked to, you know, really draw a group of strangers together.
Forms pretty strong
know,
bonds.
It's been a field trip already. I don't see why we wouldn't carry it on for now, at least. Not like I have anything else to do.
We've not died yet, and you know, we've still got this this sleepy one with us. We should probably drag him somewhere.
Maybe we can find a cart somewhere. I don't really feel like carrying him if we can just wheel him about.
Alright, listen. Okay, so, you know, I honestly don't feel as if a cart is the best option. I think maybe we need to take him to a like a apothecarian or something. A priest,
Well, I
someone
don't
who can
mean...
do something, because something isn't right here.
I don't
we
mean
need to head to the temple anyway.
Yeah, but I don't mean leave him in a barrow. I mean, you know, in order to get him down the street, so he's just not, you know, chipping his ankles on the cobbles.
I mean, I suppose that's a fair. Do we cover him with a blanket, or do we just let him lay in the open as if we're dragging around a corpse? I mean, both are pretty, you know, corpse-like, but...
Because whatever raises more... I feel
like I should point out at this point that it appears as though Chris is suffering, the voice in my head is suffering from what they call a planned magical outage.
No, I'm here. I'm here.
For the rest of the day. Oh no, he's back. Oh, never mind. Oh, magic's back.
It has been resolved apparently, and I had about minutes of downtime, so I can't really argue.
All right. Well, voice in my head. Basically, we've just been chatting about what we're going to do, and it's all been delightfully in character. Even the announcement about your so-called Wi-Fi, some mysterious magical term I don't understand.
Works like ley lines.
What is Wi-Fi?
So it's something to do with ley lines. We should have learned about them when we had the chance.
Well, you know, Klossika's still here, I assume. He got off the boat, right?
Yeah, he's
yeah.
with us.
Yes, he is with you. He's made an effort to pull the cowl over his face and took a scarf around his chin with the extra fangs.
As we sort of start walking through the city, like Bauram has pulled his sort of divine sort of symbol, like on his necklace, out over his sort of, you know, new, very clean looking armor. You know, just so it's slightly more obvious that he's a cleric and not just some random ne'er-do-well. Yeah, to the temple then.
Okay, so it's a short bend to the east for you first. That's on the main high street of Nota. As you're traveling by here, there are quite a number of traders who are selling various different kinds of goods. Some are food stalls, which is mostly, you know, smoked fish and fried squid, and one person has made jerky out of jellyfish, and there is a famed pocket soup vendor. He claims that he's mastered the art of making pocket chowder. But is there any of them that you would wish to go in and see what you can acquire from?
Well, I'll put a bookmark in pocket chowder because, to be honest, it sounds revolting. But for now, I think our friend here has waited long enough. We should probably make efforts to expedite his return home.
Okay,
There'll be
so
plenty of time for
make your
shopping when
way.
we're done.
Much money to
You
play with
make your
anyway.
way through to the temple, and it's a very large round building. It's about 20 meters in diameter. There is a door on one side, and when you enter it, there are 7 shrines to various different gods. Seems to be the major 3 and 4 are represented here, and 3 more that you are fairly unfamiliar with, being represented by a bard, a magician, and a woman in gold. However, Ilmater, Orm, Tyr, and Ashanti are all represented here as well.
As grand a building as I'd heard tales. Looking
So
around, is it obvious who's in charge?
Yes, I should have portaled you onto. Yeah, I believe you're on the right map now. But yes, there is one man who would be this one here, a guy named Father Silverwood, who is wearing a priest's robes. The other, he simply seems to be making an offering at the shrine to the god of luck.
Okay. So as we walk in, I sort of do my best to kind of catch the eye of the guy in the priestly robes who's not making the offering, the one who's just sort of stood around. And you know, once I catch his eye, I'll sort of make a, you know, respectful, you know, sort of gesture. It'll be a you know, a dwarven gesture, so it might be somewhat alien to these people, but it will be recognizable as a sort of gesture of respect and greeting.
So he walks over and he gives a small bow and introduces himself. Yes, dear travelers, how may I help? My name is Silverwind.
They call me Bauram, the brewer. I hail from the brewistery of Falsey, and well, we're new in town, and obviously decorum dictates that I introduce myself as you know, a representative of a foreign deity. But obviously, as I'm sure you're aware, we bear you no ill will. The followers of Anseath are peaceful and egalitarian folk, so you know, you've got nothing to fear from us.
Egalitarian, I have heard say. Peaceful depends on how far into the night you've gotten, if I recall correctly.
Well, there's not like a bit of a friendly tussle between, you know, drinking pals, but you know, never escalates too far. Just a bit of friendly competition, you know.
I must admit, I have had the pleasure of being to a few of your festivals, and there was not but a few broken teeth and a broken nose, and more ale than I ever wish to see again. But it was a splendificent night.
All right, and allow me to introduce my
And morning
traveling
and
companions.
afternoon.
Uh, We've
Yeah,
got,
I am getting taken away in nostalgia. Who are your companions?
well, first we've got the fearsome warrior, finest wielder of an oar I've ever seen, the Lady Rashida.
I don't have the order to prove it, I'm afraid. Actually, I do.
I will take your word on that and stay on the good end of that oar, I think. Would you try? Let's not have a tussle in my temple.
Oh no, I wasn't planning on it, but it's kind of broken, so I don't think there's a good end. But don't worry, I wasn't planning on using it.
You are an unusual bunch, I must admit. And who is your other two companions?
Well, first off, there's Ishmael here, a fine sailor, saw us clear through a number of deadly situations. I will explain the context momentarily, but he's as fine a man as I've ever met, and very trustworthy. Say hello, Ishmael.
Oi, oi, oi. Yeah, you can say that again. Trustworthy as a seaman as you'll ever find, I'd imagine.
And now, perhaps the most unusual of our number. Here, step forward there. Now, don't be alarmed. He's somewhat unusual of appearance, but he's a reasonable chap. Here, take off your cowl.
Kind of removes his cowl, removes his hood, and kind of. I hear you are able to send me home. That was the agreement for me to travel with these people. Are you able to perform a banishment spell? I bear you no harm.
A little context, friend. There's our companion here was been stranded amongst in our plane for he said it's been over 1,000 years since the formation of the Great Lake. He hails from the water plane, and he's a cleric himself, and as a fellow man of the gods, I felt it was our place to try and return him to his home, and I felt like this was the best place to get that done. So we come beseeching your aid.
Punishment is something I can do. I would need something distasteful to you. I tell you what, dear. What was your name, sir?
Well, he told us that his name is a bit. We don't have enough tongues for it, but Kloseka, best that I can gather how it's pronounced.
Kloseka will do. What will be the cost for this transaction? You understand the practices here then. You say you have a great knowledge of history. Perhaps you stay with me for 3 days. We will have scribes write down everything that you can tell us. At that point, I will ask you for something that is distasteful to you, and at which point I will be able to perform the banishing. This will send you back to your plane. Is this acceptable? Yes.
Well,
Travelers, I am grateful, but it seems I am now need to deal with this man rather than yourselves. Do you have anything more you wish to ask from me?
um, uh, well, no, I wanted to make my introductions, and we owed this man a debt, and had promised him that we would aid him as best we can. I feel that's now been taken care of. So I wish you both well in your partnership while it lasts.
Goodbye, my friends. Without too much more say, kind of walks over and stands behind Silverwind rather than yourselves.
It's been a pleasure, I suppose.
It has been a journey. I am grateful for what you have done. I won't be needing this any longer. From his cloak, he pulls a small bag, kind of passes it across to you. But wait and feel there's some gems in it.
Oh, much obliged. These will go quite far, I'm sure, to seeing us some accommodation for the coming days. I mean, we probably won't be seeing each other again, but I wish you well on your journey, and maybe put in a good word for whatever deep gods you serve back in that foreign land. Eh.
I will. And I am here for a few days. Perhaps, maybe we will run into each other again.
I more I hope that you have a safe journey home. And I don't know if there's much wind in the plane of water that could
Goodbye.
carry you, but I hope that the current.
Farewell.
Farewell. Father Silverwind at this point looks a little bit uncomfortable, but he does seem to be very intrigued at the opportunity to question someone who knows about the history, and he goes, I will keep you informed. You said that you intended to stay in town?
Oh, aye, we do need some lodgings, in fact. Is there anywhere you could point us to, somewhere appropriate for a man of the cloth and his loyal companions
And ale.
that does have ale on tap?
Two places spring to mind. If you're looking for lodgings and accommodation, head to the Flooded Clam. They have a common room that serves a fair selection of ales and beds available for rent. If you're looking for work, the most common employer for, well, given your introductions, I can only assume adventurers, is the Blackfield Company. They're located on the northwest side of town.
Well, currently less adventurers and more victims of circumstance. I'm supposed to be here on a pilgrimage.
Well then, where is your pilgrimage taking you?
Well, it's I suppose it's less a pilgrimage in the traditional sense that I'm not headed to any one destination. My mission is to prove myself as a cleric of the mighty Anseath. I must go out and find and develop a brew worthy of serving before him in the brewistery. And then, having proven myself thusly, I can join the higher orders of my faith. But that'll be a long way off yet. So
Well, I don't know.
my journey
I
is
don't
not
know how much it
recently.
helped you, but I ran into a place called the Long Shot Inn in a town of Len, fairly not too far north of the coast if you head north from here. So leave the island of Nota, head up onto the coast, go north. There's, like I said, a town called Len. They do the most wonderful elderberry or elderflower cider, I believe. It was either elderberry or elderflower. It was one or the other. I'm not entirely sure, but it was served to me by a man who smelled like hamsters. It was
An
amazingly
intriguing
good.
ingredient, I must say. The two have distinctly different flavors. I've encountered them
Well-
used before, but I'll definitely make a point of stopping by if I get the opportunity. Any experience
well-
is a new lesson learned, you know?
Are there any other services you need from the church while you're here? Blessings, charms, healing?
Currently, I think we're all feeling pretty tip-top, but
Well, all of us. You may notice our sleeping friend down here.
oh yes, I
he's
almost
kind
forgot.
of caught a bit of a fatigue over the past few days. He hasn't seemed to rouse enough except to eat a little bit, but hasn't really come to conscious in quite a while.
Oh, let me have a look. Let me take a look. Kind of leans in and looks him over, pulls a torch off the wall and pulls his eyelids up and shines it at him. And he goes, "Ah, I've seen this before, you see. Warlock, I assume, pledged to some kind of patron who pays him a debt. I'm afraid his spirit is off busy working, and I'm not entirely sure when he'll be back to join you. But I'm sure in his own time he'll come around. He'll surely be tirelessly toiling away on the railroads or the mines for his patrons somewhere on the astral plane.
So what should we do with him in the meantime?
I mean, you can leave him here. I have a spare corner with a bed in it, and I can make sure he gets fed at least once a day.
Well, I would be much obliged, and I
Best.
must say the Order of Anseath would see this as, you know, a debt to one of its service, and any expenses I'm sure you can send through to the brewistery, and you will be reimbursed duly
Oh,
if it's
If
necessary.
if the Order of Hansi sees fit to send me a statue, maybe we can make this the Temple of the Eight rather than the Temple of the Seven. There is some bare space over there between the goddess Tamara and the god Milin, and I kind of figure that the drinking god should go between the gambling god and the music god.
Ah, it would look handsome there, and a beer fountain would really liven this place up.
I have enough trouble with drunken sailors without adding to the portion of that. But yes, maybe it would.
Well, I have to say I'm quite relieved to be leaving our friend here, and that he's just, off on other errand. You could tell that there's some kind of plague that's been coming down from the northeast, I believe.
Yes,
yes.
we have been spared it by the water, but there are reports coming in from all along the edges of the Cloudspire Forest of plague infecting people's minds and bodies. It is a worry. We're hoping it doesn't spread any further as the seasons start to get better and people go out to plant the crops.
Then you say that that town of Len is up north. Do you think they're red of whatever the plague may be?
I have not heard anything from Father Gallagher in quite a while. If it is your intention to travel that way, perhaps I could contact him and see if he is in need of some people. Would you be willing to volunteer?
Well, I mean, at this point, anything that keeps us in enough coin to feed ourselves would be welcome. We find ourselves somewhat at a loss in terms of equipment and supplies. Everything you see us holding, we scavenged.
Perhaps then maybe sign on with the Blackfield Company. get yourselves some work, get yourselves some supplies, and from there, maybe you go to Len, maybe you go to Cannon, I think is their nearest port, as another port of operation they run out of. They would be able to tell you more about their goings on. I do understand that they have a bounty out. Somebody's looking for a puzzle cube. I saw a notice up in the flooded clam.
Well, I suppose that should be our next stop.
Aye.
You know, we will need some lodgings. I assume we're going to be here more than a day. But yeah, your advice and counsel has been most valuable, as is your assistance. We are much indebted to you, sir.
And then, with the closure of their interaction, getting rid of their deep priest, that will end today's episode. Just a short one today, I'm afraid, folks. But we will pick up again next time, same place, over on Twitch at 7 p.m. GMT. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a wonderful evening.